penguins don't eat much for lunch today. I'll still tell you about them. And Nemo and Splash are obviously hungry. Is he coming around? Come on, Splash. All right. Let's see if anyone wants to fish. Does everybody know what type of penguins these are? Little penguins. Have you heard them called anything else? Yeah, little blue penguins, or hairy penguins. Yeah. 3 different names for the same type of penguin. Scientific name, Eudiptula minor, means good little diver, because they are very good little swimmers. They are, of course, the smallest of the world's penguin species. Ours are all adult birds, so this is as big as a little penguin gets. Usually around 30 to 40 centimetres. There we go. Beautiful. Now, little penguins aren't native to this area, in case anyone's wondering. They are found all around the southern coast of Australia, including around Tasmania, and they're found in New Zealand. Nowhere else in the world will you find little penguins. Just Australia and New Zealand. So these penguins don't like the ice or the snow. They like our relatively temperate. Let's see if they'll eat a big blue bait. They don't like that type of thing. There we go. So of the 8, Sedge, come over here, silly. Sedge. He might make his way over in a minute. So of the 8 penguins that live in this enclosure permanently, most of them are rescue birds. So they came to us either as injured adults or as orphaned chicks. We do quite often find wild birds on the island that need a little bit of help. Wherever possible, we look after them and get them well again, and then we release them into the wild once again. Obviously, that's the ideal situation. That's what we want to do. And I can tell you there's nothing better than releasing a little healthy penguin into the ocean first thing in the morning and watching it swim away. It's a good feeling. However, sometimes a little penguin's recovery process takes a while, and if they're with for a while, basically, they just get quite used to being looked after by people. They get used to the easy life in here, and sometimes we think they might not survive if released back into the wild. When that's the case, they stay in here with us and become part of our little family. A good example of why we think these birds that live here with us would not survive in the wild now. A few years ago, the staff caught some wild fish. They thought it would be a lovely enrichment activity to put live fish in the pool for them to catch. So they got some nets, they spent hours out in the bay catching all these tiny little fish. They released them into the pool. Most of our penguins were too scared to even get in the pool. 2 did, and they swam away from the fish. So I think that's a telling sign that these particular penguins would no longer survive in the wild. But I reckon they have a pretty good life in here with us. They seem pretty healthy and happy. And it does mean that anyone who visits the island will see a little penguin. There's a few people coming out over there. It might be Jerry. Another one, Nemo? We're just having a swim now, I think. There we go. So I'll tell you a little bit about molting penguins. Unlike most bird species who lose feathers and replace them as they go throughout the year, little penguins lose their entire coat of feathers and grow a whole new coat all in one go. And they do this every summer. The reason they do this is because their livelihood really depends on that coat of feathers. Their feathers are incredibly densely packed together. They've actually got about 10,000 feathers on their bodies. And those feathers basically act like a wetsuit for them. So they keep them warm and they keep them dry for the many, many hours that they spend at sea catching fish. If a little penguin was to go swimming and try and catch some fish without a complete coat of feathers, he or she, out you come, Nemo, would not be waterproof, would not be watertight, which means that their feathers could potentially become waterlogged and they could sink and drown. So what happens? What happens around this time of year, every year, sometime between December and February, is the little penguins get themselves really fat. So they eat as many fish as they possibly really gorge themselves. They can potentially double their weight. So usually a little penguin weighs 1.5 kilos. They can reach up to 3 kilos pre-molt. Once they fatten themselves up, as anyone who is Sedge still over there, yeah, we can all have a look at Sedge and see that he's a lot bigger than Nemo, who's not molting yet. So he's really, and they do seem to get pretty autumn heavy, so they get a nice big booty. When they've done that, they then do not go swimming at all for about 2 or 3 weeks, so they don't get anything to eat. They just sit on the island and basically feel very sorry for themselves, look very miserable, and all their feathers fall out and a whole new coat grows through. So you can see that Sedge is looking very fluffy at the moment. He's not sleek like Nemo. That's because all those feathers are starting to fall out and the new ones are coming through underneath and pushing the old ones out. So he's not eating much at the moment. He's just hanging around, feeling a bit uncomfortable, a bit sad. Obviously, our penguins in here have the luxury of still getting a bit of fish off us if they want it while they're molting. But the wild birds across the island and across the rest of Australia and New Zealand don't eat at all and just live off that body fat. So they burn it really fast. What is Splash doing over there? He's found something to play with, is he? Splash is our youngest penguin, so he's quite a playful little fella. Well, as I mentioned, the wild penguins are molting as well. We believe there's about 1,000 wild birds that live on Penguin Island. Most of the time, when you visit the island, you can't actually see them because during daylight they're not on the island. They are, of course, out at sea fishing. But right now, they're molting. So if anyone takes a walk around the island today, keep your eyes open. You're quite likely to see a wild penguin. You might see them sitting in the rocks, under the boardwalks, anywhere kind of shady and sheltered. And by all means take a photo, but please respect, it's a very stressful time to be a little penguin. If you can imagine, you're not looking your best, you want a bit of weight, your feathers aren't looking good. On top of that, you're hungry, you're hot, you're grumpy. Please don't go too close. Please remember no flashing your cameras. Just respect what they're going through. We've got a few more out over there, have we? So those two who've just come out of that nest box over there will be Jerry and Skip. And come and have a look. Jerry is our only female. So we've got 7 guys in here, 1 girl. I won't say anything. You can just think what you want about that situation. Muffy, do you need to go over there, Sedge? So this little one who's come furthest out of the nest box, that's Jerry, our female. It's really hard to tell little penguins apart. It's hard to tell the males and females apart. But the girls are generally a little bit smaller and their beaks are a little shorter and finer. Yeah, but as she's in the middle of her molt, she's quite large as well. And that's her partner Skip sitting in the box there, looking a bit uncomfortable. Come on, Sedge. Come on, Sedge. Come on. Come and have some breakfast. Or lunch. Come on. Come on. Oh, you're not allowed to pick them up. We don't really touch the penguins or pick them up. They don't really like it. So even though every day I wish I could, because who doesn't want to cuddle one of these guys? But not really allowed to. They don't really like it. So Jerry, as our only female, is partnered up with Skip over there. Little penguins generally mate for life. So even though we've only got 1 female in here, the rest of the boys have all found themselves a partner. Our oldest couple, Lou and Perry, currently, I believe, hiding in that nest box down there. And Lou is our oldest penguin. In the wild, a little penguin usually lives somewhere between 7 to 10 years. Lou is 20. Yeah, so he's doing really, really well, and hopefully he's got a couple of years in him yet. He's a very handsome bird. Unfortunately, you can't see him right now, so take my word for it. He's really good. But Lou and Perry partnered up, and they've been together for 15 years. So I reckon, yeah, pretty cute, huh? So generally stay together with the same, you get the occasional divorce or separation then. If someone loses a partner, they will move on. But Jerry and Skip are a relatively new couple. Jerry has been with us for many years, but she used to be with another penguin called Piggy, so named because he once ate 250 fish in one day. Jerry and Piggy were together for many, many years. In fact, Nemo there and Sassy, who's hiding in this nest box, are their children. Sadly, Piggy died about 1.5 years or so ago, at the very decent age of 22. As you can imagine, the Penguin Experience staff were very sad to lose one of their precious penguins. It was very upsetting. Jerry, though, seemed okay with the situation and actually moved on to Skip within about 2 days. So they're kind of for life, but they stay practical about things and they move on when they have to. Now, we've recently reached the end of breeding season for little penguins on Penguin Island. They breed between June and November. So Skip and Jerry did lay some eggs this season, which is very exciting. Skip's first time as a dad. He did a beautiful job of lining their nest box over there. So he dragged in all kinds of things like spinifex and seagrass and sponges, and he packed it all in there, lined the nest box. Jerry laid 2 little eggs, white eggs, roughly the size and shape of chicken eggs. They sat on those eggs for 5 weeks, and they were very diplomatic about it. So one day out here would be Jerry getting some food, and Skip would be keeping the eggs warm. The next day they'd swap over. They did that for the 5 weeks it took for one of their little eggs to hatch. and out hatched an absolutely beautiful little chick. Some tweets, flash, yeah. Absolutely tiny, about that big, weighed 25 pounds, black fluff ball, eyes closed, ridiculously cute. Unfortunately, at that point, Jerry and Skip seemed to lose interest or weren't really sure what to do next, and they didn't actually feed their baby. So we did have to take the baby off them, but I'm happy to say at about 4 weeks old, it's going strong, it's still being hand-raised by one of the other staff here, growing like crazy, so it's now quite a large black fluff ball. And very, very cute. Little penguins grow up really, really quickly. So from 10 weeks they go from that size to adult size. And at roughly 10 weeks old, they're completely grown up, so they're fully independent as well now. They'll go off and look after themselves. So very short childhood for a little penguin. I don't know if he's actually, oh, he did eat that one. Not very hungry penguins today, I'm afraid. So yeah, now obviously I can't show you our baby, our chick, but if anyone's interested, we do have photos at the front here, so you can have a look and see what a penguin chick looks like. They are very, very cute. And hopefully, I guess in 6 weeks or so, we'll have another little person to join our family in here. Let's see if we can get Nemo back in for a swim. He might not go back in, but go on Nemo, go back in. So I was mentioning how much all these penguins look like each other. It is quite hard to tell them all apart, but you should all be able to spot Nemo easily, because he's got a broken beak, so you can see that his bottom bit is a little shorter than his top bill. Doesn't affect his eating or anything, just makes him easy to identify. Go for a little swim. Go on, go for a little swim. Go on. Go on, go on. There. So while we've got two penguins whizzing around in there, we can admire what wonderful swimmers they are. Now, the same features that make a penguin quite awkward and clumsy on land, and I have seen these guys fall over numerous occasions over these rocks, so they're a bit awkward on land, but the features that make them awkward are the features that make them wonderful swimmers and divers. So there's very upright bodies, there's torpedo-shaped bodies with their feet, short little legs tucked out the way, make them very streamlined, very little resistance in the water. And what were once many, many millions of years ago wings have evolved into flippers, but they still use the same muscles that once carried them through the sky to carry them through the water now. So it's kind of like they fly underwater. So wonderful swimmers. They can hold their breath for 5 minutes, go down as deep as 60 meters, which I reckon is quite deep when you're that size. And they can, if they're not molting or getting ready to molt, and if they don't have babies, they will spend days or even weeks at sea, especially if they have to go further afield for their fish. So some other features they have for that is that they drink only salt water. A little gland above their beaks that filters the salt out of their bloodstream. So if you notice any of our birds sneezing today, they're not sick or anything, they're actually just sneezing the salt out. And they can also sleep at sea, which I reckon is pretty awesome. They're what's called polyphasic, which means their natural sleep pattern is to sleep 3 or 4 minutes in every hour. They'll do that on land or at sea. Our birds don't really sleep in the water because they don't need to. You'll just see them dozing off on the rocks or under the UV lights here. But a wild little penguin will just float on the top of the ocean for a few minutes at a time and have a little sleep. So very, very well adapted to their aquatic lifestyle. Wonderful swimmers and divers. Really special little birds. Does anyone have any questions for me about the little penguins? Yes? Shout it out nice and loud. Do you know what kind of animal a little penguin is? It's a bird, yeah. All birds have feathers. So these guys have feathers as well, and their feathers are super important because they keep them warm and they keep them dry out in the ocean. Without their feathers, they wouldn't be very good swimmers. Keep them warm, like a wetsuit. Any other questions for me? No? Well, I could keep talking to you guys about little penguins all day long, but I suspect you want to get out and enjoy the island. So please, just one more reminder not to go too close to the wild birds today. Please don't go into the vegetation. There's other birds nesting all across the island. Otherwise, have a lovely day, and thank you very much. Thank you.